The Progressive Cynic on Twitter, or at jsager99 is his handle, sent me this video of a FreedomWorks employee, which is a right-wing think tank, attacking Thom Hartmann and calling him a Nazi. So yesterday we discussed how Bernie Sanders was accused of National Socialism, a.k.a. being a Nazi. And this week, or I should say today, we have this. And this, I think, is from a month ago or maybe a couple of weeks ago or something like that. But I'm noticing a pattern here. Anytime right-wingers feel like, God damn it, we got nothing against this guy, what do? You must be a Nazi. So just go way over the top and go way crazy and say the most ridiculous thing you can when you realize you don't have a good argument against the other side. Check it out.
Well, that's okay, too. I mean, we can make money by having the oil pumped through our country, and we can have jobs as we export it. What's wrong with exporting?
Well, what's wrong with it is, A, it's helping to destroy the planet. B, it's poisoning us. We get to keep the poisons. And C, if you want the United States to be energy independent, if you're concerned about Middle Eastern oil, then take the hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies that we're giving the oil industry and that we're proposing to give to TransCanada right now and put it into solar and wind.
It's so strange, the modern liberals today, they're such hardcore socialists, and they're also such hardcore nationalists. So what do you call a national socialist in German?
That's...
Yeah, it makes you think. It makes you wonder.
No, it doesn't make me think at all. I'm trying to figure out how to say, Austin, that's the most stupid question I've ever heard.
Yeah, no, it's not. Because
in fact, I was grasping for words to figure out a way to say that's the most stupid question I've ever heard.
Oh, really? You don't like
that? The
that?
Nazis were obviously nationalists, and they were not socialists.
Oh, yes, they were. They were hardcore socialists. They believed in the collective over the individual. They believed in the state, the government as supreme. Just like yourself, you are an economic nationalist. You're an economic socialist.
Somehow you are attempting to convert a conversation about the Keystone Pipeline into a revisiting of the history of Nazi Germany. It's not going to work, Austin. Sorry, the Nazis are gone. They're dead. At least the old ones.
Do you not ascribe to the same belief in the state, the government, over the individual?
Austin,
you're terrified. Sig Heil, Tom. Sig Heil. Yeah, you know that's what this leads to. Economic.
What you are suggesting here, Austin, is that we should let TransCanada, we should let a corporation, and the Koch brothers with their oil up there and their refineries down here and all these other things, we should let them be deciding policy for the United States rather than we, the people, deciding policy. Now, if you want to call me a nationalist or even a Nazi for saying that I believe that my nation should be making decisions in the best interest of my nation, then fine. Call me whatever you want. But I am on the record here as, and I think that your internationalist view that we should have no boundaries, this whole libertarian thing of, absolute free trade, no boundaries, anybody can move anywhere, is crazy. It has never worked anywhere.
Wow. Well, at least you admit it, Tom. A hardcore nationalist, a hardcore socialist. I mean, it doesn't really get more Nazi than that, buddy. I mean, the fact
the Nazis were a death cult, Austin. You are dissing. No, stop for a second. Stop. You are trashing the memory of the people who were killed by the Nazis. The Nazis were a death cult. They had nothing to do.
Tom. I got you good today.
I've never seen Thom Hartmann that angry before, and I don't know if that guy could possibly have been serious. Because if you're serious, you're one of the dumbest people I've ever seen in my life. At the end, he's like, I got you, Tom. Zinger. I called you a Nazi. I win. Oh, God. If there was ever a time to actually bring up Godwin's Law, it's not real, but the internet made it up where it basically says, anytime you invoke the Nazis in an argument, you are the one who's wrong. Anytime you bring up the Nazis to make a comparison for anything, it's just, you're wrong. Because it's kind of an admission. In some cases, it's kind of an admission of, I really don't have an argument, so you're like a Nazi. Now, I disagree with Godwin's Law overall, because I think there are plenty of actual examples where you can make a parallel, draw a parallel. I've done it myself before, but in this case, if there ever was a time to bring up Godwin's Law, yeah, this is it right here. So think about all the ways in which this is ridiculous. First of all, his main point is, since Thom Hartmann's not in favor of NAFTA and the TPP and the Keystone Pipeline and all this stuff, he's like, so you're a nationalist and a socialist. Just like a Nazi. You're a Nazi. You're a Nazi. But if helping Americans is Nazi-esque, so if you're part of any country and you're in favor of helping the people in your country, that's nationalism. So by your own logic, everybody's a Nazi. Because people in Greenland want to help people in Greenland above and beyond, people elsewhere. People in fucking Bolivia want to help Bolivians over people elsewhere. I mean, that's their priority. People in America want to help Americans over anybody else first. So by your logic, well, that's nationalist. And then if you're a little liberal, you're also a socialist, national socialist. You're all Nazis. So anybody in any country who cares about the people in their own country, Nazis, you're Nazis. How ridiculous is that? How ridiculous is that? And think about what the opposite of that is. What this guy's saying, you shouldn't give a fuck about the people in your country. What you should do is care about the multinational corporations and let them outsource all the jobs and let them drive wages downward and let them increase unemployment at home. Like me, like a good person would do. And that's what's really going on here. He's got a corporate agenda and he's pushing that above all else. But think about the irony that this guy, he's with Freedom Works, a right-wing think tank. What were the Nazis? Left-wingers or right-wingers? Obviously they were right-wingers. They're the ultra-right wing of the spectrum. That's what fascists are. They're fascists. So you're much closer to Nazis on the spectrum than Tom Hartman is, but you're like, Nazi, 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 Nazi. So let's break this down specifically here and see just how Nazi-esque Tom Hartman is. I can't even believe I'm having this conversation. Let's see. What was the main thing the Nazis were in favor of? There are a few of them. War, for one. So the Nazis are for war with virtually everybody. Tom Hartman is against war. He's against war. He talks about it every day on his show. Not like a Nazi. Nazis were in favor of racism and genocide. Tom Hartman is against racism and genocide. Clearly, Nazis were against immigration of any kind. Unless you're Aryan, of course. Tom is for immigration. Nazis are for authoritarianism. Tom is totally against authoritarianism. I mean, Hitler admitted that one of his main enemies, right up there with the Jews, is the Marxists, the communists, and the socialists. Okay, now I don't know if Tom Hartman would describe himself as a socialist, but he's probably a social democrat, which is pretty close to socialism. Pretty sure that Adolf Hitler is not a fan of Tom Hartman, wouldn't be a fan of Tom Hartman. No, but see, I just talked myself into thinking that this guy, he's not serious. The same as the guy who wrote the piece about Bernie Sanders from the National Review. He doesn't actually mean it. He's just doing corporate propaganda and saying the most ridiculous things to try to convince some people who might be stupid enough to go, ooh, maybe there is some weird stuff in his past. Maybe he is kind of Nazi-esque in his policies, even though nothing can be further from the truth.